Every TCG has its staples that nearly every player wants to have and include in their deck. Welcome to today's video where I talk about staples in Sorcery TCG. And I have to say I'm very new to Sorcery. I haven't even played one constructed game, but I've played Draft and Sealed for Arthurian Legends and I really love it. I made a few videos about it, opened some boxes. I was even at the pre-release event for Arthurian Legends in Essen. And I have to say these cards are magnificent. And yeah, I didn't have a clue about really what unique means actually in Sorcery, and there are a lot of unique cards in Arthurian Legends and also in the first set Alpha/Beta. And I was opening up a case of Arthurian Legends and then I was looking at, okay, how many uniques are left for me to collect so I actually have a full set to play with, and what are the most important uniques that maybe some of them I have and maybe some of them I don't have. And I was lucky enough, I pulled both Pendragon Legacy and Ring of Morrigan at my Draft and Sealed pool in Essen. And I had no clue how important especially these two cards will be going forward. And then also I saw a card called Four Waters of Paradise. I pulled that luckily in my case. I also pulled Ring of Morrigan and Pendragon again in my case, so I could trade those in for uniques that I didn't pull. And I have to say there are a lot of uniques. So opening up boxes will not really get you all of the uniques that you need. And let's come back to the main topic, which is staples. So my name is Alex from the Fabled Academy. Yeah, if you are new to the channel, I'm happy that you're here. Make sure to comment on the video. I'm very curious. Are you playing Sorcery yourself? Are you interested in going into constructed for Sorcery? Or are you mainly interested in collecting the game? So, first of all, let's talk about Ring of Morrigan. And I had 3 of these in total. This is the one I have left for myself that I want to play with. I traded in the other 2 to buy or trade for the uniques I still had to get. But Ring of Morrigan was creeping up in price, and I was looking at some videos online and people were really, they were really like, how do you say it in English? I'm German, sometimes some words I'm not getting in my head. This card is phenomenal, let's say it like this. And I haven't tested it myself, like I said, but this is definitely, it's a generic, so everyone not dependent on the element that you're playing can include this card in their deck. It only costs 1 to cast. You can only include 1 of it in your deck because it's a unique. And the effect says, bearer has, whenever this unit casts a spell, they may deal 1 damage to target nearby unit to have you gain 1 life. And that is busted in Sorcery. And you want to have this card on the board, as soon as possible, and get advantage over and over and over and over again while using your spells and then gaining a life and deal 1 damage to target nearby unit. And I'm not really sure which of your minions or maybe even your avatar you want to give the Ring of Morrigan, but I'm assuming you will give it a minion that is pretty beefy, that is not that hard, that is not that easy to take off the board, and then have it cast spells and have it, deal additional damage and gain you life. So it must be a spellcaster for sure, because this only comes off when the unit casts a spell. But I think there are also ways that you can, make minions cast spells even though they are not spellcasters. I think going forward, what I've heard, this card will be much more important. And I think, the price reflects that. In the beginning, I looked at it and it was, I think, around 30 euros. Then people were coming at me and wanted to trade for my 2 copies or wanted to buy them, and it was at like 40, 45, and then it went up to 60 today, yesterday's evening. And so there might be potentially, when this video is coming out, that the price is even higher for this card, because like I said, it seems like everyone and every deck wants to play one copy of this. And I have to say, of course, this is a great card, but I'm not sure if you really need to play it to win in tournaments. And if you have to play this card and if you don't have it, you lose, that would be a bummer actually, because when this card, for example, creeps even higher to around, let's say 100 euros, I'm not sure if that is a normal price for a staple like this in Sorcery, but we're only at the second set, right? So maybe you can let me know what the first set has for, staples and what those prices are. I'm not really sure yet, but definitely this is a staple in Arthurian Legends. Let's come to the second one, and I talked about this earlier, Pendragon Legacy. It also costs 1 mana to cast, and it's an Earth card, so you need 2 Earth threshold to even being able to cast the spell, and it's also unique, so you will only have 1 card of Pendragon Legacy in your deck. And I assumed at first, when looking at this, as I pulled this my first time at Essen Spiel, I was like, okay, this seems powerful, but only Earth decks will play this, right? Because the effect is quite good, but it's only limited to decks that want to play Earth. Because the fact actually says it's an upstart goblin, if you know Yu-Gi-Oh! So it draws your card by playing it. So it, basically when you play it, you get a new card. So it ersetzen itself. It ersetzes itself. I'm not really sure at the moment. Sorry, my head sometimes is off. So the fact says shuffle any number of unique cards from your cemetery, which is the graveyard in Sorcery, into your decks. That means you can not only shuffle back unique cards from your spellbook, like the Ring of Morrigan, you can also shuffle back unique sides into your Atlas deck, like this Merlin's Tower. So let's say someone comes at you with the castles ablaze and destroys your Merlin's Tower, you can just shuffle it back with Pendragon Legacy. And you can not only shuffle 1 card back into your decks, but any number of cards. And then you get to redraw them during the game. I think this card is just busted. And like I said, I thought the restriction on this card is like that it's only available for decks that play Earth. And usually what I thought was the case that in Sorcery you're mainly playing 2 elements in one deck. But then I was looking at some deck profiles online, and I was getting to know some of the power cards from the new set Arthurian Legends 2, like this card, Annual Fair, which I think is also a staple in Sorcery going forward. The Annual Fair is an exceptional side, so you can play this 3 times into your deck. It has it provides you 1 mana, and you can pay 1 mana and let this gain a threshold of your choice for this turn. So you know what? You can play Annual Fair, then you have Pendragon Legacy in your hand, and let's say you have 3 sides on board, and then you can activate Annual Fair multiple times. I was not aware of this, but it doesn't say it restricts itself to once per turn. So it seems that you can activate Annual Fair 2 times, so you're paying 2 resources, so 2 mana, and then you have 1 mana left, and then you can just play Pendragon Legacy, because you choose 2 Earth Threshold here from Annual Fair, even though you don't have an Earth side here on the board, and then you can play Pendragon Legacy even though you are not running an Earth deck. Isn't that crazy? And I mean, Annual Fair is not dauerhaft. Sorry, again, a word that I don't remind at the moment. So you can reactivate Annual Fair turn by turn by turn and decide what kind of thresholds you need in that turn. Not like Valley of Delight. I think with Valley of Delight, it's a staple card going forward too. It's an elite side, so you can play this 2 times into your Atlas. And it only has a Genesis effect. So Genesis basically means you're playing this out, then the effect resolves, and then the effect is gone. Or at least the effect doesn't resolve again. This Genesis effect says choose one of the following. one of the element thresholds, and then it says this side provides that permanently. So you're playing Valley of Delight, you're choosing which threshold you need, and then it has that threshold for the rest of the game when it's on the board. So here again, if you have Pendragon Legacy in your hand, you want to play it and you don't have enough Earth threshold, and let's say you want to resolve Pendragon Legacy, then you are playing out Valley of Delight, saying you want to gain an Earth threshold, and then bam, you can cast Pendragon Legacy. Even with that, having an Earth threshold here, paying 1 for the annual fare, gaining a second threshold, and then you can basically reshuffle all of your uniques from your cemetery, like Ring of Morrigan, or even Four Waters of Paradise, which is also unique and also, I think, a staple going forward. Four Waters of Paradise also costs 2. I'm not really sure on the price for Four Waters of Paradise at the moment, but Pendragon Legacy, I think, was around 25. So just for reference when I'm making this video. Four Waters of Paradise, it's a unique relic of honey, milk, water, and wine. And it says sacrifice 4 waters. So I think how it works is basically you're playing out 4 Waters of Paradise. Then you sacrifice it. And then, I mean, you wouldn't really cast 4 Waters of Paradise. Let it lying around there. I assume so, because there are the possibility that your opponent either picks it up. I think that's how it works with all the relics, right? You can pick them up and carry them around. I'm not really sure if you can cast 4 Waters of Paradise without having a minion on board, but I assume that's the way that it works. So I think you don't even need a minion on board to really being able to play 4 Waters of Paradise. So you're just playing it out. You sacrifice it, and then you are gaining the effect. And the effect is just phenomenal. It's because it says, this turn, Beerer's next elemental spell requires no threshold and costs 4 less to cast. So even though I said you can just play it out, you need someone that beers it. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And then that bearer gains the effect. So this turn, Beerer's next elemental spell, so it doesn't even require any element. So let's say Pendragon Legacy is an Earth element card, but this can just cast any elemental spell. I'm not really sure if that means you can't cast the generic spells. So Ring of Morrigan, like I said, is a generic. It doesn't really belong to any element. I'm not sure if you can cast Four Waters of Paradise using a non-element spell afterwards. But the busted thing about Four Waters Paradise is actually in the last line of text here. And it says that spell requires no threshold at all. Okay, let's go. Another way to bring out cards like Pendragon Legacy without having the thresholds. And then it also costs 4 less to cast. Damn, this is so busted. I think this is one of the craziest cards that, in my opinion, exist in Arthurian Legends alongside the Ring of Morrigan. Though, like I said, I didn't really play Constructed yet, so I'm not really sure which of these 2 cards will be the most busted going forward. But I think it is in this order. Either these 2, one of these 2 are the most busted, and then afterwards it's Pendragon Legacy. And I think maybe people are even underestimating Pendragon Legacy, because in this game, like I said, cards from the cemetery usually can't come back. There are some cards that I saw that are bringing cards back from the cemetery, like Erase the Dead, for example. I think that is a common card that you're using, but I'm not really sure about specifically targeting unique cards that you want to reuse during the game from the cemetery. And then also cards like this, the relics, that you are not reborning like Monster Reborn in Yu-Gi-Oh! But rather you need to reshuffle them or regaining them to your hand. Or I'm not sure if there is a card that lets you just put a relic from the cemetery back on the board. That would be also something that I can think about, but I didn't see an effect like this yet in Sorcery. But like I said, these are all staple cards that you need going forward, I think, when you want to play Constructed in Sorcery. And let's just say Ring of Morrigan, it creeps up a little bit more. As I said, it's 60 euros at the moment, and it goes up to 80 or 100 euros. So that is a card alone, only one card that you need to play when you want to win a tournament. And then there's Four Waters of Paradise, there's Pendragon Legacy, and that's only 3 cards. And you need, I think it's 30 cards in your sides, right? So 30 sides, which are also a lot of uniques that you want to play in your sides going forward. Just like Merlin's Tower, which I want to talk about next. So I'm a little bit afraid of the price of constructed decks in Sorcery going into this game, but I have a lot of cards for Arthurian Legends already. I'm really happy about that. I didn't I bought a lot of singles. I didn't even buy a single yet, but rather I opened up one case and traded all of my extras, or I want to trade all of my extras to get the cards that I don't have. But I wouldn't really pay like a 500 or 1,000 euros for a Sorcery deck just to compete in a tournament. At least not yet. Like, I'm not sure how my view on this will change in the future, but let me know how you are approaching it, because shout out to Felix from the German Sorcery Discord. He actually hooked me up in the beginning and said, like, here's a great list. Maybe I even will talk about this list in the future. That only costs around 40 euros to play, and it's a really strong deck. So I really want to make videos about building decks for Sorcery that are not that expensive, and maybe even don't need to run cards like Ring of Morrigan, Four Waters of Paradise, or Pendragon Legacy. But I think you will not come around some of these cards if you really want to be a pro player in the future for Sorcery. And let's just talk about Merlin's Tower. Like I said, I don't have all of the current values of the cards, but just from looking at them day by day, some of them are really creeping up in price. Like one of the cards I just traded for, Bower of Bliss. I don't have it here, otherwise I would really include it in this video, because I think it's a great way to just shut down all of the minions on the board that you can't get rid of otherwise. And there are some nasty combos. There are some nasty combos that I saw, and I really want to make a video about a specific combo with a card that just skips the turn, and I just hate it, like, obviously. Coming back to Merlin's Tower, it's a unique side of arcane knowledge, just so busted. I love the story about Merlin and King Arthur and the Round Table in general, and seeing this card, I pulled this card too in my seal pool. Not in my seal pool, but in the box that I bought on location at the White Rabbit store. And I was like, oh man, this card, at first it looks amazing. It's one of my favorite stories, fantasy stories. So it's Merlin's Tower. And then it is also kind of a spellcaster. So on Genesis, if you have 3 air threshold, again, this Merlin's Tower provides you 1 air threshold. If you like, you can just beforehand activate 2 times the annual fare, get 2 air threshold this time. So no problem at all if you don't play that many air sides in your deck and you just want to run Merlin's Tower to get the Genesis effect. Pretty busted in my opinion. So you need 3 air threshold then on the Genesis. So only if you play it out, then you get the effect, and that is this turn it gains spellcaster. So the tower itself even is a spellcaster, pretending that Merlin is inside of that, or maybe another spellcaster that is an apprentice, and then you can cast a magic spell off of the tower, or even multiple spells in the turn. It just really doesn't say that you can only cast 1 spell from Merlin's Tower, but it doesn't really restrict itself. So the only positive upside to that is also that the next magic that you cast this turn from this tower costs 3 less to play. So you're basically gaining the advantage of coming up with the expensive spells in the beginning. So let's say we are pretending that we are in round 4 here. You have these 3 sides here on board, and then you play Merlin's Tower. Obviously, if you didn't choose Valley of Delight to have a light an air threshold, you need to pay 2 mana off of the annual fare to get off Merlin's Tower, and then you basically have 2 mana left, but then you are also letting your next spell resolve for 3 less mana. So you basically are casting a magic spell off of Merlin's Tower that can cost up to 5 mana for only 2. How busted is that? That's crazy, guys. So I think definitely going forward, Merlin's Tower is a card that you want to have definitely into your collection if you want to play seriously in Sorcery. And then, like I said, we talked about these two that I really like that I really liked already in limited. And I think Annual Fair is a card that everyone that sees it in a draft or sealed pool wants to play. I don't really know the priority that you would pick this over certain other cards, but I think the card that you definitely don't want to lose on is Valley of Delight. And I think also the artwork is just phenomenal. I also love the artwork on the playmat. That's why I bought it immediately after the weekend at Spiel Essen. And I really want to get this card in fall, guys. If you have one and you want to trade it, just definitely let me know and maybe we can find a solution. But definitely, I think 2 of these, you want to have these in your collection because this will be a staple. Let's be honest, guys. Cards like this, even going forward when new sets are releasing, let's say Ring of Morrigan gets nerfed or something because other relics are coming out and they're even more busted, or you don't really want to run it for some reason because relics can be destroyed more easily in the future, even more easily. But I think going forward, it is pretty safe to say that Valley of Delight and Annual Fair both will be sites that are just so versatile and can just react to any situation that you want to have, running a multi-element deck, maybe even 4 elements in a deck. I'm not really sure if that is a big thing at the moment in Sorcery, but I would experiment with that for sure. And then the last card that I want to talk about today actually is Withered Stan. I pulled this 2 times actually in draft and sealed, and at the first time I just played draft and I didn't have a single mother clue. Sorry. And then I asked my my left draft partner, which I wasn't sure, and I saw this card and I was asking like, what kind of card should I choose here? What would you recommend to me? And he was like, Withered Stan is definitely a really great card. Also a card that you can utilize on after we played the draft, and then I just picked it. And I was like, yeah, okay, it seems okay. I'm not really sure how much draw power there is in Sorcery, but it turns out there are a little bit less draw power cards than I am used to from other games like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Flesh and Blood. And then I realized that Withered Stan is just busted because you can draw a card off of it. It draws you spell even. So you are gaining advantage. And the only downside to it is that you need to discard a spell the first time this Withered Stan side is attacked successfully. So you need to be careful where you cast this and how you can protect Withered Stan, or even if you care about it. I'm not really sure because let's be honest, if you are gaining advantage over the turns, and then there is really, let's say you have a really great hand that you can utilize on it. You only need a last bullet into your pistol, so to say, to kill your opponent, and then you are playing Withered Stan, drawing another card, and that is the one card that you need to defeat your opponent's avatar, and then Withered Stan is just so amazing. But let me know your opinion. I'm a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit double-sided for me with Withered Stan. I really like it. I think the artwork is phenomenal. And there is even a YouTube channel called Withered Stan. I watched some of his videos, definitely recommend it. If you are a Sorcery guy or you want to join a Sorcery as a hobby, definitely check out his YouTube channel. Like I said, I think this is a staple, but it would be on my list, the last one that I would include here from the cards that I've looked on so far. Yeah, let me know in the comments definitely what you think about this topic. I think this is one of the most important topics actually when building decks and getting cards for your collection, because staples are the cards that you want to have definitely in your collection to choose for, not only in the current meta but also in the metas going forward, with new sets revealing themselves and also new metas evolving. But also I would be very keen to know what are your staples that you are picking at the moment. What cards do you think will we see for years and years to come in Sorcery? And let me know what your favorite cards of the ones is that we are having here on the table. And yeah, now for me, everything left to say is that I want to thank you for joining me here until the end. Definitely leave a like if you found this video helpful. It would make me smile a lot and also help the YouTube algorithm. Recommend these kind of videos to other viewers that don't know them yet. And then we can all have fun in the hobby of Sorcery TCG. So we see us in the next video, guys.